Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. And here's the script. No, I don't want to go to the script. Do I want to go to the script? I'll do it anyway. A big hello to our listeners on CJRO 107.7 FM in Ottawa's East End. Thanks to everybody tuning in on their favorite podcast app, for being here on YouTube. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe. Never miss an episode. And thanks to our great sponsors, Jim K. Ford and Celebrite. This is Sens Nation, your home for everything Ottawa Senators. And the other podcast that I've done, thank you.
Great script.
That I've done for 5 or 6 years, the Steve Warren Project, recently came to an end. So every once in a while, when the weekend sports dialogue is pretty good, as it was this past weekend, Ryder Cup, Blue Jays, NFL, we might dally into that a little bit. So anyway, how was your weekend?
Grand Slam curling too, Steve. Holman
Right.
Rink won. No, what a great weekend.
Shoot.
What an awesome weekend. You got to love this time of year, huh? Geez, my Blue Jays looking good. What a great game on Sunday. Actually, the whole series was a really good series, and I watched pretty much every second, Steve, of the Ryder Cup and every second of live from the Ryder Cup. You ever watch the live from crew post majors on the Golf Channel? Those guys are phenomenal. I love Brandel Chambly.
I do like Brandel Chambly. I'm not sure I've watched that, though. I've certainly seen him on the Golf Channel and everything in the past, but yeah, we start there, Ryder Cup. I mean, my goodness. And we will get to Sens talk in a sec, but that was the most rowdy crowd I've ever seen watching a golf tournament. And to hear Rory McIlroy, and by the way, Europe wins, and went into the final day, it looked like it'd be a no-doubter. And America kind of made it close there for a while. But Rory was pretty critical of the American crowd. Like, that's not how you're supposed to behave on a golf course.
Yeah, but to his credit, too, he could have had a lot more juicy things to say, and anytime he was asked questions about it. And basically, it came down to two things: that the sort of the degree of what people had to say, but also his main thing was like when people are saying things. Like he was, you can say stuff, you can try to rattle me, boo me, whatever. I get it. But it's the timing. It's when somebody's trying to prepare to hit a shot and people are yipping at that time. It's that to me is crossing a line. Did you see the one scene where he's in the rough there on 16? He's trying to hit his approach with a 9-iron, and some guys are just giving her big time. And he turns around and he goes, "Will you guys shut the F up?" It was absolutely beautiful. And then he stuffed it in there about 2 feet. Euros won the hole to close out the match. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing led me to cheer for Europe. I didn't really have a skin in the game. And it was just fantastic theater, as was, last night, my Packers, a 40-40 draw with the Dallas Cowboys in a game that was completely void of defense and a lot of bad calls in the game as well. But certainly the big story in Canada is the Blue Jays clinching, and it was never in doubt, though, was it? Never in doubt.
I was a little nervous the way things have been going lately. A lot of cold bats. And Kevin Gausman yesterday, I'm thinking, okay, it's all right. Gausman's on the mound, and then he didn't exactly start well, giving up a couple early runs, and it was a close game. It just seemed to be, okay, Jays take a lead, then it's close, then they go ahead again, then it gets close. But no, in the end, Alejandro Kirk comes through big time. Vladdy finally gets his first RBI in I don't know how long. But wouldn't you love to be part of that? Like I lived in Toronto for years, and I used to go to Blue Jay games. It's a great atmosphere. Toronto people, Blue Jay fans love their Blue Jays, almost to the same that Leaf fans love the Leafs, except they're not arrogant about it. And it's something to see. Wouldn't you just love to play in front of that kind of crowd every single night? I think some of these, let's face it, all the players are Americans or Central Americans, and for them to thrive in that atmosphere, they must just love it to have a full house every night. And I hope it continues for a long ride here in the playoffs for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I love baseball so much. I used to be a AAA play-by-play guy. I grew up with the Expos. I've sort of adopted the Blue Jays in recent seasons. But I'll tell you, the world of self-employment being as busy as it is, man, I watched fewer ball games than I have in my life. Well, not since I was the 70s. my first like love of baseball was the game where Reggie Jackson hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. And that's where I was like, what the hell is this? I have to watch more. And that's when it took off for me. But yeah, now I'm all in though. I'm definitely I feel like a bandwagon guy, though I've been a supporter of the Blue Jays, but I'm kind of coming in late on this thing. So anyway, we should get into some Sens talk. Lots of great sports going on right now, and this is the Sens Nation podcast, so we do need to talk a little bit about the Sens here. And but let's be honest, everybody's a Sens fan. Most Sens fans that I know are pretty well-rounded sports fans, so I'm just slide a little in there from time to time. The Sens finish with a not finished. They defeated the New Jersey Devils, a split squad New Jersey Devils team in Quebec City by a score of 2-0 on Sunday afternoon. It was all kind of weird. The broadcast was a reminder how bad my French comprehension has gotten because that's the only way it was available. It was not available in English radio or TV just due to technical difficulties in Quebec City. But and there's a cat over my left shoulder running around there. It's going to be a weird look for the rest of the segment, but let's see how long the cat stays there. But I thought they did what they had to do, and I think we need to put away the notion of, oh, well, that team's dressing its B roster, so you can go ahead and take them lightly. Like, that's not that any team ever does that, but maybe subconsciously they do. The reality is those guys are usually playing with their hair on fire, playing for their lives, their jobs, and we talked about it in the last episode. But the Sens got it done. And a shutout for Linus Ullmark, maybe the easiest of his career.
Yeah, holy smokes. Was it 14 or 15 shots, Steve? I don't remember now, but
14.
Kind of, yeah, like, my God, the people of Quebec longing for NHL hockey again, and that's the game they get. Like, wow, poor guys. I feel sorry for the hockey fans in Quebec. But, you know what?
Maybe we don't want it back after all.
Yeah. A tidy, efficient win, right? A solid effort. They dominated. Maybe they didn't dominate on the scoreboard, but they were the better team from start to finish, as they should be. But to your point, everybody in the ice is fighting for an NHL job, so the compete level is there. It's veteran players who maybe don't have the compete level and the heart that you're looking for at this time of year, and that's fine. Most veterans are just trying to get the rust off and get their feet under them, get a good sweat on, and then pack up and go home. See you tomorrow. So it's those guys fighting for a job, and which pretty much half or almost all of the New Jersey lineup fighting for a job. They're going to give you a game. Unfortunately, they didn't have a lot of offensive players, offensive skill, so it was a bit of a yawner. I watched it with no sound while watching the golf and the baseball all at the same time, all three of them. But it is what it is, right? It's preseason hockey, folks. Like, you're not going to get a masterpiece every night.
No, that is absolutely correct. And when we look at the game itself, the two guys who scored, you have to think they're on the radar for a 13th forward, or if some guys are still dinged up, whether it's Eller or Batherson, or maybe somebody gets hurt some point between now and the start of the season. Stephen Halliday ends up with the winning goal with about 5 minutes or so in the third period on power play, and Ole Lixell gets a nice steal at the end into an empty net, and that puts it away. Those are two guys that I think are probably on the radar as they think about a 13th forward, and they've been as good as anyone. I think it was Tyler Ray, who I follow on X and is doing a little writing for the Hockey News as well. He said something along the lines of, he's basically, Lixell he's Matthew Highmore if Matthew Highmore was a better hockey player.
Yes, I would agree with that. A little more skill, a little more hockey sense, so a little more offensive side to the game than Matthew Highmore. Matthew Highmore is still more of a bottom six energy guy, where like Selk is more of a bottom six, maybe an offensive contributor here and there. I like his game, and yeah, he's in that conversation. He and Halliday, as you said, and McEwen, and we went through this last show, all those various assorted bodies down there fighting it out for the last two spots. Kaliev, who's going to get them, and is it going to be 12 or is it going to be 13? Don't forget, having Belleville so close by, it's no big deal to call guys up and down as long as they're waiver exempt, so they don't necessarily have to carry 13 forwards or even 7D for that matter. But it'll get tighter as the games get fewer and fewer here as we get closer and closer to the start of the season and the final cuts. I think it'll come down to about 6 guys for those last two spots, and they should probably be the last forwards that are here and probably all get released on the same day at the end.
One of the red flags that is always waved, whether it's here in the podcast or among NHL evaluators, is the classic tale of a guy who's passed over once or twice in the draft, and then he dominates in his junior year because he's one of the oldest guys out there. And such was the case of a guy like Igor Sokolov. Such was the case of a guy like, I'm pretty sure Mark Kastelik out west was the same story. Yeah. And it's the same story with Stephen Halliday. He was a guy who was with the USHL's Dubuque Saints, I want to say, and he actually ripped it up, but he was like a couple of months shy of his 20th birthday. He'd been passed over in 2 straight NHL drafts, and so that's always kind of a red flag right away for me. But in the case of Halliday, when I look at the size, he's got a little more spring in his step than the 2 guys I just mentioned, which is usually what keeps these guys from becoming everyday NHL players. He's got a little more spring in his step than those guys did. Some skill, some hockey IQ. I did, though, before I anoint him with an NHL job, it should be pointed out that Travis Green basically said, when asked about him on Sunday night after the game, he said something along the lines of, still adjusting to the pace, still getting tired. It concerns me if an NHL coach says a guy's getting tired. That maybe suggests, I don't know, maybe the pace is wearing him out a little bit. I don't know. Maybe a fitness issue. I'm not sure what he means by that. But that's the one small thing about Halliday that gives me pause for thought. Other than that, I think the guy is going to be an NHL player within the next calendar year for sure.
Yeah, and if I'm Stephen Halliday, I'm not feeling too good about myself and my chances of making this team if the coach thinks that I'm not up to snuff physically, conditioning wise. I at one point held out hope that this was a guy who could maybe compete to be in the top 6, to be a surprise guy and maybe play in the second line on the left side or something. I'm still not passing that up. I mean, when he gets called up, who knows? Maybe he gets put into a better position to play at some point. I don't think he's going to make the club necessarily, but yeah, there's some offensive upside there that intrigues you, but I haven't seen anything that looks like he's slow or looks like he's behind the play. But then again, we don't have the hindsight of the video analysis that the coaching staff of the Ottawa Senators have. So maybe there is something to it, right? Who knows? Travis Green would know more than any of the rest of us.
As Senators go, he's not Tim Stützle, but he's not Logan Brown either. So he's somewhere in that mushy middle. Yeah, your old friend. So it'll be interesting. First of the day. So Halliday is one of those guys to keep an eye on for sure. And the other star of the game, and I guess you put an asterisk beside that star, Linus Ullmark makes 14 saves for the shutout. And he spoke quite a bit after the game about how tricky it can be for a goalie to actually be out there and not be that active, to go long stretches without shots. So far in this preseason, he's played 4 periods. He's averaged 5 shots per period, and that's not exactly ideal, but he's kind of learned how to deal with it. This is Linus Ullmark talking about lack of shots and how to stay focused.
I thought we did a pretty good job, and from speaking about me, there's some things to clean up, but I'm not surprised that it's like that as well. First game of the season, you're playing a team away, you're having here in Quebec as well. There's a lot of variables as well. So, but I'm always happy when I don't have to look behind me and grab a puck and throw it up into the middle. And on top of that, you get a win. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of struggles, and that is something that I find quite enjoyable in a way. It's not fun to be struggling in a way, but the satisfaction of understanding yourself and getting to know yourself, and also realizing, oh, this is what I'm doing wrong now, and this is not how I was supposed to do it. And when that clicks, it's so satisfying. And we had one of those days, yesterday actually, where was not happy really with the practice, and then stayed out there and we just kept shooting, and it's all of a sudden a light bulb turned on, and then you start feeling good about it and get a little bit more swagger into your game, and kind of brought it into this day as well.
So there's Sens goalie Linus Ullmark in conversation with the media, and he's talking in terms of things are a bit of a struggle. It's weird to say that a goalie enjoys the struggle. maybe not ideal, but, we all know that Linus Ullmark, forgive the cliche, he marches to the beat of his own drum. He has a different perspective on a lot of things. And to hear him talk about the struggle, he's just basically saying the part that he enjoys is when it all clicks, how satisfying it is when you keep after it, you keep focused. And he said at practice before the game that happened on the practice was Saturday, the game was Sunday. And he said, we just stayed out there. We're shooting. And then suddenly a light bulb goes off and you start to carry yourself with a little more swagger. And that carried over into the game on Sunday, he felt. So that's a very good sign for the Sens starter for the coming season, isn't it?
Well, it's the cliche of we're going to stick to the process. We're always sticking to the process. We're going to work the process. We're going to work the plan. We're going to, to me, it's wonderful. It's refreshing, right? I view anything that Linus Ullmark says as intellectually different from what 95% of other hockey players have to say. This guy rarely gives you a cliche. He thinks about things. He's got a mind that's very interesting. I love listening to him. I think I'd love to hear him in his native tongue, where his vocabulary would be even more extensive. If I could speak Swedish and have a chat with him and hear him give some of his thoughts in Swedish, I bet it'd be along the lines of reading the game, listening to Ken Dryden talk about goaltending. He is intellectually totally different from your standard hockey player, and I enjoy listening to it. The fact that he embraces the challenge, embraces the work that's required, embraces the time, the fatigue that he goes through, the training that he goes through. It's to get to a goal, to work the process, to achieve something. I mean, that's sports. That's life, right? You work your way through things to get to somewhere, to get to something, to accomplish something. And that's what he's talking about. I love listening to the guy talk.
Chances are, if you hate the process, you're not going anywhere in your field. That's what it comes down to. And Ullmark obviously likes the process, so that's a good point. And now we look at a shift in what the Senators' goaltending looks like. I know that Travis Green has kept the door open to maybe Mads Søgaard challenging Levi Meriläinen, but I think we all expect Meriläinen to be the guy, just based on what he did in that 12-game sample size last year. Like crazy good. Goals against average under 2, 3 shutouts, and it was something like 8-3-1. Of course he's going to get that position. So it's going to be very different, because when Linus Ullmark arrived here, he's basically paired. His running mate is another 32-year-old, another Swedish guy, and he was clearly the number one, and I think he is again with Meriläinen, but it just, and I was about to bring up the whole he's never played 50 games in a season before, so we're going to have to rely more on Meriläinen this season. But at the same time, that's kind of an overrated thing. When you look at the starts and games played by the best goalies in the league, they're all around maybe, high 50s, and I think 63 was the most by any NHL goalie. The Marty Brodeur days are over. I think most NHL number one goalies are playing on average 54, 55 games. And when you've got Ullmark several times in the high 40s, I don't think it's that huge a deal. But what do you think is going to look like? Is it, let's say both guys are healthy all year, are we talking maybe Ullmark among the league leaders in games played, or is this going to be more platoon-like, kind of maybe an Ullmark-Swayman thing in Boston?
I think it's going to come down to, obviously, health and results. But if I'm Travis Green, I'm probably penciling it in as 50-30 or maybe 55-25. Now, I know there's 82, folks. Don't worry. My math isn't that bad. But around those numbers, right? 55 and 27. Is that 82? I think so. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I think that's what they would want to pencil in, looking at back-to-back scenarios and 3 and 4 night scenarios and figuring things out. If you could map it out perfectly right now, and all things being equal, if Ullmark plays as well as you expect him to, and Meriläinen plays as well as you expect him to, I think 55-27 or 57-25 is about the right breakdown here. 55 is not a high number, as you say. The top goalies that nowadays, 65, maybe 70. No, nobody gets to 70 anymore. It's in the low 60s is about where they max out. And Ullmark historically doesn't get anywhere near that number, but 55 shouldn't be out of the question. What are you thinking?
I mean, there's part of me that wants to go more platoon than that, but what holds me up is the fact that he is now the second highest paid player on this team. at eight and a quarter. I think Tim Stützle is the only guy that makes more than him now. And so you kind of do want to say, you know what, we need to, we're paying you to be the stud, so we need you to be studly for more games this season than just a platoon scenario. So that's kind of how I monitor it. But I do think a lot of Maryland, and if you look at, I hope that Ullmark looks at him and how good he's shown he can be as motivation to be even better this season. So it's so hard to say, because I think Maryland could really play his way into more games than like if Ullmark scuffles along for a little while, maybe Maryland gets hot. Green is basically a meritocracy type of a coach, or so he says, and so that'll be put to the test. But Ullmark could get hot too. I mean, the guy I think he finished the year 8-2-1 in the month of March. He went on a 7-game win streak in the month of December. So he can be a beauty as well. I think they're really loaded for bear in goal. And you can talk me into just about any ratio, I guess, to answer your question.
I think that barring injury, Ullmark probably would have definitely played at least 50 last year, would have started 50 games last year, I think, barring injury, and he might have approached 55. I think injuries obviously played a role in the game distribution amongst all the goaltenders last year.
Celebrate isn't just about making your home look great during the holidays. It's about keeping your home safe too. A well-lit home is a secure home. And the best part, you can instantly change up the vibe. Whether it's for security, for style, or any holiday in between, Celebrate has you covered. Permanent holiday lighting you'll love year-round.
So, are you ready to take your Ford ownership to the next level? Look no further than Jim K. Ford, introducing Ford Pass, your passport to a world of convenience and control. With Ford Pass, you're in control like never before. Start your vehicle remotely, lock or unlock it from your smartphone no matter where you are, receive instant alerts about your vehicle's health, and schedule service appointments with ease. Ford Pass puts you in the driver's seat of your car's maintenance. Plus, enjoy access to exclusive perks and rewards, earn points on vehicle purchases and service visits, and redeem them at your discretion. Their dedicated team at Jim K. Ford is here to assist you every step of the way. They make Ford ownership a breeze. So why wait? Visit Jim K. Ford today. Experience the future of driving with Ford Pass. Visit them at 1438 Uville Drive in Orleans or online at jimkford.com. Brady Tkachuk in the news to a degree, and that it seemed to me, because the next game for the Ottawa Senators is against the Montreal Canadiens, once again in Quebec City. So we saw over the last day the Montreal media start to come into town and ask questions. And it seems to me anytime the Sens and Canadiens take each other on, and I know Hab fans are like, oh no, simmer down there, and we don't like that player. I feel like they regard Brady Tkachuk as the one that got away. And there's always something compelling about that, because they always seem to be asking about Tkachuk when they Habs take on the Senators. It's not unreasonable. He's probably their best, or one of their best players, and certainly fame growing like crazy, which we'll talk about in just a second. But a lot of questions were heading to Jake Sanderson, to Travis Green, asking about Brady Tkachuk's leadership. And Jake Sanderson had some really over-the-top praise. Here's what Sanderson had to say when asked about what Brady Tkachuk delivers in the leadership department. Is he lead by example? Is he a loud guy in the room? And this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think he's all type of leader. He's loud, he talks, he leads by example. He brings it every single day on the ice. So I think there's not really one area where he lacks. I feel like he's just all around the best leader in every single aspect.
He is probably not the most liked player of the other teams, but how is he as a person? And
yeah, he's awesome as a person. He's a great guy. I think everybody on our team is very grateful we have him on our side and not the other. But yeah, we're very blessed to have him as our leader.
Do you feel like he enjoys this villain role?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think in some heated games, especially against like the Canadian rivalry, when we're winning and whatnot, you can see some smirks on his face and whatnot. But it can be a lot of pressure for him too at times. He's so young, but at the same time, like, it's so impressive how he deals with it all. It's he's a special person.
So there's Jake Sanderson in conversation with the media. High praise indeed. Basically, whatever you need for leadership, as far as Sanderson is concerned, Tkachuk can deliver that. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it speaks to who Brady is and what he's become, and that's a great deal of respect from a very skilled guy, from a guy who's going to become one of your leaders here eventually too, right? He maybe even gets an A this year at some point, but that's a future leader in Sanderson with a great deal of world buckets full of respect for his captain, and that's huge. Like, you can't ask for anything more than that as an organization, that the captain's respected to that sense, right? He is. We call him the unicorn. There's nobody really like him in the NHL. And then you add to that this incredible leadership qualities, and then you add his community work and his efforts for children and the Boys and Girls Club and everything he does in this city. And like, wow, he's a godsend to this team, right? As far as anything and everything you'd want in the leader of your number one sports team.
Here's what Travis Green had to say about the leadership of Brady Tkachuk, and he certainly sees some evolution there.
A lot. Yeah, he's grown a lot. Anytime you're a young captain in the league, young captain in the Canadian market, it takes time. You don't just all of a sudden become a captain and you're your best version of what you're going to be. I think the captain he was day one is a lot different than the captain he is today, which is still going to be different in another few years. So I thought last year he took a lot of big steps in that department. Just maturity. You got to understand he's also an emotional player. And I find with guys that play on the edge a little bit and they're part of your leadership group, managing that emotion between on the ice, off the ice, is a lot easier said than done. And he's really matured in that area.
So it's Travis Green in conversation with the media, and Travis Green does not suffer fools gladly, and he does not like necessarily talking about specific players. He doesn't want them getting too high or too low, get the ego going, get them down. So he tries to steer away from that as best he can. But when asked about Brady Tkachuk, talked about the maturity level and the growth in his leadership. And he's really, it's not that he's a secret around the NHL. Obviously, Ottawa Senator fans have loved him for a long time. He might have already surpassed Daniel Alfredsson as far as most popular player in Ottawa Senators history. That might be a discussion to be had. Probably would, based on what age you are, that would factor in as well.
Wow.
But he is certainly a guy that has evolved, but it's now gone beyond the borders of the city of Ottawa. Everybody in the NHL who's a fan knows Brady Tkachuk, but the fame level since the Four Nations, man, like, it's gone through the roof. One of the best players for Team USA at the Four Nations, the big brawl with his brother before everybody in hockey was talking about. The Olympics, he's in the top 6 for Team USA on that preliminary team. It just goes on. And he's got this Prime Video series going on. It's just, he's on NHL 26. It's like the guy's a rock star outside of Ottawa now.
Yeah, the coming out party being the Four Nations. Wow, huh? That's pretty impressive. That guy's got a lot going on in his life. And I think that it really shows that. I think maybe 2 years ago, if you asked somebody in another market about Brady Tkachuk, that the thoughts would have been, he's a pest, he's a little irritant, he's, he skates awkwardly, what kind of player is he? Well, he's just keeps getting better and better and better on the ice, and as I've already said, off the ice, just better and better as well. He's gonna be here for a while more. Still got 4 years left, Steve? You're the contract guy. 3 years left. Oh boy, is that right? It's only 3? Wow. Well,
yes, sir. Yep.
That'll be scary. I wonder what he's going to make in his next contract. But one thing we could say, Pierre Dorion got it right, didn't he? That's one he got right.
No doubt. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned earlier about the Montreal Canadiens media coming to town. That's a guy that could have had, obviously, Tkachuk in 2018 at the NHL draft. He went number 4. Pierre Dorion was thrilled to get him because Montreal had the 3rd pick overall and took Jesper Kotkaniemi. And not only has he not come close to what Tkachuk is, he's no longer in the organization, and the Habs got nothing for him back. Well, they got picks, obviously, but they didn't get any live bodies back in return. Anyway, it was not ideal for the Canadians, and terrific player. The question I would have now is, he had a 55-point season, 72 games played, and quite a few of those 72 were obviously played under duress. He was dinged up at the Four Nations and was never really right again. And so now he returns. Now he's fully healthy again and got to be motivated, right? His brother by the time, so right now Tkachuk has got 7 years in the league. Matthew Tkachuk, in his 7th year in the league, he just completed 2 straight 100-point seasons, whereas Brady has tapped out. I think he's had 1 point per game year at 83 points. So Matthews got him there on the points. Matthews got him there on 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, including 2 cup rings. And Brady Tkachuk is now finally scratching the surface of playoff success, getting there last year for the first time. And the injury factor is behind him. How freaking motivated is Brady Tkachuk this year?
Yeah, he wants to win badly, right? That's the first thing he talks about whenever anybody brings up the whole question of him leaving someday or going to St. Louis or the Ranger rumors or any of that crap. Whenever that stuff ever comes up, the first words out of his mouth are, no. I want to win, and I want to win right here in Ottawa. I want to be a part of a championship team here in Ottawa. I don't know that the supporting cast is strong enough. Brady's a hell of a player. We all love him, but he's not a superstar, right? Timmy Stützle is a hell of a player. We all love him, but he's not that top-tier superstar. He's one level down. I think this team still needs to find somewhere, somehow, some other player who can come in here and be like one level above even those two. I don't know that either one of them is a 100-point player, Stützle or Tkachuk. We could talk about the fact that he hasn't played 80 games last year and how many points he got. And he was injured, not feeling well. But is he a 100-point scorer in the NHL? I don't think so. And I'm not sure that Stützle is either, although I know you think he is. If Stützle takes the next step and becomes what everybody in the Senator organization thinks he can be and plays to that level, then feeding Brady all year, Brady's going to get a lot of points. I just don't know that he's going to get to 100.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the ultra star for sure. They just don't. I mean, there's 12 guys like that in the league, maybe, that you'd put ahead of the Stützles and the Tkachuks of the world. They're just not available, obviously. And it's not like it can't be done. I think back to that, what was St. Louis, 2019? I didn't see megastars on that particular team. They had some very good players, don't get me wrong, but a lot of players who were kind of that ilk. So it can be done. Ideally, yeah, you'd love to have a megastar. It's still possible. I still, as you mentioned, I probably are higher on Stützle's ceiling than you are. The guy's still only 23. And Travis Green talked a little bit about that today, about how he just looks stronger to him. And I think we've mentioned that as well. I saw him at the golf tournament, and he just looks a little more. I hate using that reference. He looks like a man now. He obviously he's a man. He just looks a little closer to his prime, if you will, and his physical peak. And so, anyway, that's going to be something to monitor. I almost did it again. Jeez. They're certainly in a great place, and I think Tkachuk's got all kinds of motivation for the coming seasons, so that's going to be good. And you also look at the Atlantic Division to close things out here. With the injury to Alexander Barkov, that looks like it's going to keep him out for the entire season. They're saying 7 to 9 months. That is a big blow, obviously, to the defending Stanley Cup champions, who are already without a pretty key player, Greg.
Yeah, right. With Matthew Tkachuk already out till Christmas or possibly later, now you got Barkov out. So Panthers come back to the pack. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning are another year older, so maybe they're not quite as dominant. The Leafs without Marner, what's going to happen there? They're not quite as, or don't appear to be as good as they were last year. But then you've got the Habs getting better and better every year. I think it could come down to Ottawa and Montreal fighting it out for the playoff spot there for the top three in the division at some point this year. That could very well be what happens, depending on, like I just said, does Florida really regress that much? Does Tampa regress? Boston's like, forget about Boston. We're not even talking about them. And the Leafs regression. You've got regression in three of the top teams here. So how much of that, how much can Ottawa and Montreal step up? That'll be fun to watch.
That's better. That's better. Watch this be the year that the Buffalo Sabres and Detroit Red Wings get their act together as soon as all these other teams are starting to fade a little bit. These guys get going. But yeah, even the Leafs, you mentioned Mitch Marner moving on. Obviously, that's going to be huge. I don't think they've replaced him at all. And the recent news from last week, and that Leaf goalie Joseph Woll is away from the team for personal reasons. He's dealing with a family issue. In the same way David Perron sort of stepped away from the team. I'm sure it's a totally different situation, but they're saying, okay, well, we don't expect it to be a huge issue. And then they just out of the blue signed James Reimer as a free agent. So I know Craig Berube said that, no, it's just, there's nothing to it. He's just we're adding depth. This is a good player. We want just the timing just makes you go, maybe this is going to be a longer thing for Joseph Woll. And obviously as a family issue, I'll take care of that quite clearly. I'm not suggesting hurry back, but at the same time, the timing of Reimer's acquisition makes you go, maybe it's something that will take up more of his time than maybe first thought. So Toronto, yeah, they have some things going on there as well that could bring them back to the pack. And meanwhile, the Sens to me, seem like a team on the rise, though they too have some injuries in Batherson and Jensen, and those will need to go their way because those are two guys that I will have a different opinion about the team if they're out for any extended period, which they're not expected to be, but nobody's saying any specifics on actual return to play. So we shall see. With that, we'll take our leave, I think, Greg. Go Blue Jays out of the gate. Any final thoughts about the Jays for you? Okay.
No, I'm good. Jays are the Jays. I loved your Packers last night. Like, they almost blew the tie. What was that guy? What was he? Love or whatever? What's he thinking? Like, does he not know how much time's left on the clock? Like, holy smokes. If that pass into the end zone with 0.2 seconds left or whatever, if the deflection had gone up in the air for a split second longer, the time would have expired. Like, just brutal. What were they thinking?
Well, you can be sure of one thing. The most honest guy in North America is the Dallas Cowboys, the guy who's running the clock.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because, if some Cowboy fan got in there, you can be sure you're just like, oops, it's just a little slow there. We win. Anyway, that's it for this week's show. Don't forget, there's all kinds of things that I need to tell you right now, and it's all scripted now. Thank you for being with us, whether you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode as well. Thank you for tuning in on the podcast. And thanks to our sponsors, Jim K. Ford and Celebrate. And that will do it for this week. And to everybody, thanks at CJRO 107.7 FM in Ottawa's East End. That will do it for the show. Greg, thank you for being with us. As always, you're a champion, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.
See you, big guy.